Hi. So we're going to do the takeaways a little bit differently this week. So my empathy or my our empathy and compassion team, we were asked to put together some resources for schools, teachers in teaching mindfulness in schools and education. And so we were doing the search on mindfulness. So I thought, this is just really kind of goes with what we're doing this week. And this is a website that I want to share with you. So this is from Smiling Mind, and you can obviously hook up to this if you want to. But I just thought I'd go over some of these basics of mindfulness and maybe some differences between other things of what people think mindfulness is. But basically mindfulness is simply just paying attention to the present moment. You're open, you're curious, you're not judging it, you just are. You are just being. But I think it's that important part of paying attention to the present moment. Many of us don't do this because we're just so busy and overwhelmed and we have so much going on. Two parts to mindfulness. The first is learning to focus our attention on just one thing. And then being able to bring that attention back when the mind gets distracted. So this is difficult. I admit to it. If I'm doing some researching, for example, for resources, or I'm doing something for class, I'm focused on it, and then something just makes me wander off, and I get distracted, and I really need to get myself back to what I was doing. And I feel like I used to be a lot better at it, to be able to focus than I am now. So I think just using some mindfulness for myself is a good thing. The second part, and I like this part as well, is about the attitude you bring to paying attention. You're open, you're non-judgmental, and you're curious. So it's not, and I am guilty of this as well, I'm not doing it to just think about what's next, right? I think that's an issue that many of us have. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll be present, I'll pay attention, but let's see, how is this moving me forward to the next step or in the future? Or kind of, what's the point here? Let's move on. But I think, if we can, number one, be present, and two, accept that this is just being. We're not trying to judge it, we're not trying to move on, we're just going to enjoy what it is right now. And I like this. Mindlessness is the opposite of mindfulness. And here we are. Have you ever eaten lunch at your desk without tasting a single bite? Yes. Been driving home from work and then all of a sudden you realize you don't actually remember seeing what color the traffic lights were? Yes. These are these examples of a state of automatic pilot where we're just going through the motions in our mind and we're disconnected from our body. So drawing attention to the task at hand. People in mindfulness, one of the exercises is just the raisin experiment, and that's too, and I have to say that I'm not patient enough for it. I've done it, but then it was really a struggle. You're looking at it, you're feeling it, you're just really curious about that raisin, and then when you put it in your mouth, you're really supposed to taste it and notice the texture and all of those things. But what that's trying to say to us is, hey, slow down. Don't, just be drifted off into some other place. Focus on what you're eating, enjoy it, enjoy the experience. And, that may differ from culture, different cultures as well. But I think here in the United States, a lot of times we're scarf down our food. We don't really think about it. And in that kind of automatic pilot mode. And then I think there's this misconception as well. What's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Some people will say, oh, you asking me to meditate? That's weird. Or, I'm not Buddhist. Or, but, meditation, yes, it can have very true spiritual and religious implications for people who do that of a practice. But mindfulness and meditation are different. Meditation is the formal practice of mindfulness, And we just refer to this as an exercise of the mind. So all of those mindfulness activities you were looking at this week, some of them is that meditation kind of, if you're putting it into a formal practice, we can think of that as meditation. But we meditate to strengthen our mindfulness skills. But that informal mindfulness is something that we can do all the time, right? It's just that attitude of paying attention into our daily lives and being centered and present and in the moment. So we know there's benefits to using mindfulness meditation, and there are a lot of different apps. I've tried a couple, and I've tried them, and there's a lot out there, and sometimes, they're good, and sometimes they can really speak to you, and other times it becomes like an annoyance, or maybe you don't like the person's voice or whatever. I'm not suggesting you have to use an app, but, sometimes they're nice to guide you or to introduce you to some things that maybe you've never thought about before, like the body scan, or just even doing some chair yoga, little things like that. But we know that mindfulness can help a lot with reducing our worry and anxiety and distress. And I know from our fight or flight discussion that a lot of us have anxiety, whether it's because of an exam coming up or just in general about our future. Those of us who have kids, anxiety around our kids and their future. So there's anxiety through the roof, and mindfulness can help with that. We could maybe even get more energy from it. Definitely a sense of calm, relaxation, learning how to regulate our emotions. We can enhance our awareness and creativity, improve our concentration, and that can help increase our productivity. So I think that's important. I don't see myself as too far removed as being a student, because I'm always learning. The same way, if I see that I'm just coming to a point of just drifting, I can't concentrate, and I know that I need to change tactics, right? And that could be true for you with studying, like, all right, you've reached a saturation point and there's no use. Or even if you've tried for 5 minutes and you're like, I can't do this. It's okay, accept it and say, okay, I'm not doing this right now, but I need to get in a frame of mind where I can do it later. Return to it when you're feeling more at that capacity. I also think it's important, and especially like it says here with health and sleep, but I think it's important this also helps you understand maybe your own body's rhythms and when you're good and when you're not. I'm great first thing in the morning. I know that's when I have a lot of energy. I feel, like I like to be intellectually stimulated. And then as I get, later on through the day, I can still do certain tasks, but I'm not as focused intellectually, or can really just, I just lose it. I lose momentum. And so I realize this. And so, I try to plan what is going to be, helping me be most productive during that morning time. And then, what I can kind of, not heavily think about too much later on. But, and here's the big thing right here is, and this is what Manassas would say, is that if we are mindful and we're present and we're in the moment, this really can help us with empathy, right? So we are focusing, and it's not just on ourselves. We are focusing then on whatever that task is, or, whatever it is in the present moment. And if we can be more present, then we can be more empathetic. And this is going to move us into actually next week as well. Next week, we're talking about empathy and relationships. And one of the things is listening, active listening. And you may be surprised, or maybe you're not, at how often we maybe aren't the best listeners, right? We're drifting off. Again, it's that kind of losing attention. We're drifting off, not really paying attention. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about all those other things I have to do. This person keeps going on and on and on. But if we step back from ourselves and realize that this person needs to be heard, just like you would like to be heard, right? thinking of that empathy, like putting yourself in someone else's shoes and perspective, like, wow, what if someone thought about that when I was talking? It probably wouldn't feel so good. So this is all part of mindfulness, being present and helping us with empathy. So that is a good thing overall. And then if you want to watch a little bit more about the science of mindfulness, I go ahead and encourage you to do so. But I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about mindfulness specifically, and that it helps with your work this week. So thank you.